everyone, and welcome to the channel. So let's get right into it. I recently took the time to rewatch Andor. Since I had already seen most of Andor once, I had an idea of how I'd feel about a rewatch of the series. I wanted a fresh take on Andor's journey before the new season premieres this month on April 22nd. I've noticed the reception for the upcoming Season 2 seems to mostly be a positive light in the shadow of much of the divisiveness that has been ignited since the release of The Last Jedi in 2017 and The Acolyte in 2024. I went into this rewatch knowing that Star Wars is in a state that is on the balance of success but also major failures that have divided the fandom. I'll start off with the good. My first impression of Cassian Andor came from what I think is one of the best sci-fi films of the last decade. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, provided us with a profound journey to the Death Star plans and developed character arcs that I truly became invested in, and at the same time also had elements of Star Wars that I really enjoy. And we see Andor and Jyn's sacrifice for the greater cause, for the rebellion, and the destruction of the Empire. And we can't forget this. True fanfare while also balancing a well-developed film. We should also acknowledge where the original idea came from. John Knoll. John pitched the story idea to several colleagues and eventually to Kathleen Kennedy early on when Disney acquired Star Wars. Let's just say Disney started off on a good note, and John played a critical role in this, something I'd like to further elaborate on in a future video. The Andor series begins with bringing us to the characters' trials and tribulations before the events of Rogue One. We really get a sense of a man who is trying to escape a volatile situation that is under the control of the Empire. His way out of this ultimately turns into his own sacrifice for the rebellion. The portrayal of the Empire and their ruthlessness and corruption to gain control and power over the galaxy is evident. We really do get a sense of the callousness and sheer brutality of the Empire's mission, which turns into the development and construction of the Death Star. The series also provides a window into the political landscape of Coruscant and the inner workings of a dark time that is cast with gritty, dark tones and insight into the political officials that are fighting for the good of the galaxy behind closed doors. Mon Mothma is at the forefront of this. We see her and Luthen developing the plans towards a revolution, one that is kept undercover for the time being, basically until a few rebels apeshit Scarif. We also have to acknowledge that the acting in this series is very good. We do see where some of the $250 million budget went to. Good actors, good set designs, real locations, and in some sense, the writing. Now that we're on the topic of writing, let's talk about what didn't really work for me in Andor Season 1.
What?
The writing.
What?
The approach to the story was very different than in Rogue One, and basically every Star Wars movie, which is what I think Gilroy was ultimately going for. The show really honed in on the elements of drama and pacing that just left me bored. I'll admit, I fell asleep multiple times.
Boring!
After sticking with it and watching the series a second time, I do understand why people credit Gilroy. Is the writing good? Yes, but it's very slow. There's also no involvement of the Sith or the Jedi, except for a quick mention of the Emperor. Even Rogue One gave us a glimpse of the Sith. A quote from Gilroy himself says that our show is about ordinary people. That's the overriding manifesto of our show. Make it real. And this is basically what we got. So what was the difference between Andor and Rogue One? Well, there were a few. Gilroy was not the only screenwriter for Rogue One. There were several, including Chris Weitz and Gary Whitta. I recently watched an interview with Gary on rule of two with Star Wars Theory and Mark, and I totally get it now. Gary is a fan. He wants the best Star Wars there can be, and you see that in the interview. He also talks about the director Gareth Edwards, and again, you really get a sense that both Gary and Gareth were fans. Tony Gilroy will admit himself that he's not a fan, and that he's trying to develop something very different, which I think some people will like. I really want to like Andor, and maybe season 2 will pull me back into the story in a good way. I'm definitely going to give it a watch, and really like the decision Disney made to release 3 episodes per week. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on Andor. Did you like it? Was the pacing too slow or just right? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.